Money.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Let's Talk Money. I'm your host, Surabhi Upadhyay. Have you ever felt as if you are running on a financial treadmill of sorts? By that I mean you work hard to earn adequate income, but then your expenses also keep shooting higher and higher, burning your finances. I call this the earn and burn syndrome. Yes, I've coined it myself. There's no such official term. But it's something that many in urban India seem to be feeling as of now. And that's exactly what we're addressing on the show today. How do we exit this syndrome and how do we move to a path that creates real assets and lasting wealth? Well, joining me to talk about this are two experts, two women who've watched the financial landscape, personal, financial planning landscape for a long, long time. I have Preeti Rathi Gupta, founder of Lakshmi, right here with me in the studios, and Rin Agrawal, who's a well-known financial educator. Ladies, thanks so much for joining in. So I want to get your first opening thoughts on whether you think this is a problem that affects only a very few, maybe young, or is this something that you come across a lot as well when you speak to, your catchment area, your clients and your circles? Preeti, let's open with you.
Absolutely. First of all, love the topic, the earn and burn syndrome, because that's what we see all around. And just like we were talking, Surabhi, I think the realization also that I'm earning and burning happens after a few years you've got into earning your money, right?
Yeah.
Because the first few years are normally spent in saying, okay, I've got money in my hands. How do I make the best of it?
Yeah.
The world doesn't make it easier because every morning you open Instagram and it's pushing something towards you, right?
Yeah.
And you are impulsive at that moment, right?
Yeah.
It's only when you get into your late 20s, early 30s that you realize, oh, now this is catching up. I can no longer keep pace with my spends. So absolutely. First of all, I think this topic by itself needs to be something that we teach in schools or have household, conversations on. Because the day you start earning is the day you start your journey towards your, what I call your financial map.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the starting point where you say, okay, these are my financial goals, and therefore these are my money maps.
Yeah.
It's only when you know a destination that you know exactly how to get there. If you have no destination in mind, then you obviously are saying, okay, I have the money, let's just spend it.
Money maps, I love that term. We need to find our individual money map, and no, you can't go to Google and ask for it. You have to sit down and do some homework on this, and that's what we'll get to in just a bit. But Rin, on that, you're based out of Bangalore. What do you hear around? I don't know if it's a Bombay specific thing because rentals are high here, housing costs are high, or whether you hear this among your community as well.
Absolutely, Surabhi. And I think this is playing out in the numbers as well that we are seeing on household savings, right? Where household savings as a percent GDP is at its lowest, whereas the liabilities are just moving, household debt is moving up and up and up. So yes, very, very common for people to be saving less than 10% of their income. In fact, I see a lot of early wage access companies, which are also coming up, and, good amount of demand from people to actually take a loan against their wages. So, this is where the situation is that there is absolutely very, very little focus on savings at this point in time.
Imagine us saying that. And I'm not saying that, the experts are saying that. And we were such a savings-driven economy, but so much has perhaps changed in the last 2 decades or so. Okay, let's kickstart this with a question that one of our younger viewers sent in to us. Isha is now joining us on the phone line, and I think her query really symbolizes what a lot of people are feeling or expressing or going through, especially in urban India. Isha, so glad that you can join us on the show. Tell us, what is exactly your question?
Hi, I'm Isha. I'm 24 years old and I currently live in Mumbai. Every time I get a hike, my spending seems to outpace my earnings. Now, how do I break the cycle?
Okay, there you go. Sums up exactly what we're trying to discuss over here. So let's start with the beginning, with the problem itself. How do you look at it, Preeti? This facet, is it just about we're spending too much, or is it intrinsically our behavioral problem, or is there something more to it?
I think, like I said, once we start earning, there is a lot of pressure, whether it is the financial world, which is selling us credit cards or saying buy now, pay later, or just, the access to money or to sort of postpone your spending is just so high, right? Which is why people feel that, okay, this is the great time for me to buy this is a great time for me to spend here. So your lifestyle takes over more pragmatic goals. And I think to Isha's query, the best way to do this is really sit down. It takes you about half an hour to say, okay, these are my financial goals. This is what I want to do. You're 24, you may want to study more, you may want to start your own business, you may, irrespective, whatever, right? But there are 2 or 3 important financial goals, which are your emergency fund, start creating it, build your safety nets, because those are very important. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't do, and actually which can dent your savings and investments, could be not having the right insurance. Look at tax breaks efficiently, because you're starting earning. Ask the right questions, when you're renting, for example. We spoke about how costly it is to rent a house in Bombay. Can you actually look at how paying a rent could actually be, it could be used to save tax for you. So look at all of that, and most importantly, start working on your retirement. And I think once you have, sometimes when we don't have a financial goal, I tell young women that, if you saved 5,000 rupees every month for 40 years, you would actually have 7-8 crores by the time you retire, right? Sometimes just having that big number and then saying, how do I work towards it, right? So I think financial goals, financial mapping, and then budgeting very effectively. Once you know the destination, it'll encourage you to budget, right? Then you say, okay, I know that I have to save. There is a golden rule of budgeting, which is proven that if you follow that, you will get to where you want to go, right? Which is at least put aside 20%. Of your earnings when you begin, especially at Isha's age, to start putting aside 20% as your savings and investment, and do it before spending. What most of us do is we spend, and then we say, okay, whatever's left behind, maybe I'll think of saving, right? And that also rarely happens at this age. So, I've automized, and I really suggest this, that instead of making it a chore, automize your saving and investment process by just mandating your bank that 20% of all my earnings that come in will go into an investment instrument. And then you sort of are able to spend with less guilt, because you know that my savings have already gone.
That's an interesting idea, just automate it. So whatever hits your bank, or if you're a salaried person, whatever hits your bank on the 1st or the 2nd of the month, 20% just goes out. Maybe in a different, maybe in an investment product or a savings account or whatever, something else. It's just not there for you to spend. That could be an interesting aspect. What you've mentioned, Preeti, is very interesting. So you're saying at least 20% of your income must go towards savings and investment. Actually, we have a query from another viewer on precisely this. Let me take that up and we'll ask Bryn about it as well. This is Bala. And he wrote to us on Instagram. You can, of course, reach out to us, to me specifically, or you can any of our channel handles as well on Instagram with your question. He's saying, what is the best method or rule to ensure savings? So we've just heard from Preeti. She's given her basic rule of thumb, at least 20%. Mrin, come in on this. I think this is the bare basic beginning. I have to divide between how much I can spend and how much I need to invest or save. What's your math or formula to this?
So I think the first thing is to always remember that savings is always the foundation of your financial life. And unless you have a good amount of savings, you really cannot think of having a good financial life. So I think first is that realization that savings is really, really important. And it is not one of those old-fashioned things that used to happen in the past. Now, I have always propagated the 30-30-40 rule, which is 30% of your take-home going towards expenses, 30% going towards EMI. So that is like a maximum of 30% going for expenses, a maximum of 30% of take-home going towards loan repayments, and try to save 40% of your take-home. I know trying to save 40% of the take-home is a big ask, given just large expenses like rent alone. But I think, start with the 20-25% and have that goal, right? So I also truly believe that it's always important to think beyond, what you're doing today and really look at the larger picture and think big. And the only way that you can fire or, have financial freedom it starts with actually having a good amount of savings. So while you can start with a 20-25%, your ultimate goal needs to be about 30 to 40% going towards savings. Now, on the discretionary expenses, because you see, we do see a large amount of the spending going towards non-essential expenses, which are not essential expenses, right? So I think, within the whole expenses gamut, have a percentage that you're going to keep aside for non-essential expenses, which is your fun expenses. It could be 10% of your take home. It really depends. But, somewhere it's like your physical health, right? So if you know that you have to remain fit and there are a set of things that you need to do, as much as you would like to, have your fun, but you know that you have to have it in limits. So it's the same thing with money. Have these basic numbers in mind, saying maybe 10% going towards fun expenses, 20% for essential expenses, 30% for low payments, and then the rest of it for saving.
Mrind, I think the question is, I think you raise a great point, at least thematically having a division in our heads of what is essential, what is non-essential. Though people will ask these days, right? I want a new sneaker. Is that essential, non-essential? I want to upgrade to a better gym. Is that essential or non-essential? So I think these lines, Preeti, especially, and that's what we're grappling with, right? They're really blurring in terms of what is essential, what do I deserve? I deserve this, I should upgrade to, whatever, a better bag or something like that. That's where we get really confused.
No, I think first of all, let me lay it out that financial planning or planning for your future doesn't have to be boring, right? It doesn't have to be a drab conversation. You have to have fun with yourself doing it, right? And one of the things that we do is that apart from automizing, saying just automate it.
Yeah.
So you've put aside money for your savings.
Yeah.
Make sure that those savings are going into inflation-beating instruments,
Yeah.
Growth instruments, because you are young. This money definitely needs to grow. You don't want to save and then realize, oh my God, I lost. Anyways, that money is depreciated, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is the first thing. Second, I also believe this conversation between needs and wants. There's a very difficult line, and all of us are guilty, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, having broadly a budgeting tool, right? Let's automate that also. There are a lot of budgeting tools that are available. Use that to say, okay, these are my limits.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then once in a while, it's okay to allow yourself those limits, but I think a tool will highlight to you how many times you've, stepped over that budget.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that people should do, which I feel we don't do enough, is have these money conversations. Because why do you need a new pair of sneakers? Why do you need a new handbag?
Yeah.
Is because that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I sit with my friends, we're talking about, okay, where do we go for a holiday, or what is the bag that you buy?
Yeah.
Why don't we have conversations around saying, what are you doing
How
with
much
your
have you saved?
investments? Yeah, how much have you saved? So have those conversations. I think make it more fun.
Yeah.
Gamify it for yourself. Compete with yourself every month.
Yeah.
Have I saved a little bit more? And the second thing, I think, again, to our viewer Isha's question, is that every time your salary or your package gets upgraded, the first thing to do is to upgrade your investment.
We upgrade a lifestyle first.
Yeah, but we upgrade our lifestyle first, right? And now I've got more money to spend.
Yeah.
So instead of that 20%, I think, how can you upgrade that? How can you increase that percentage?
Investment part of it.
I think take care of that piece first. So then you don't feel guilty about living your life in the today.
I think it's a great way to go about it, that the way you can strike that balance is just think investments first and then think fun and spends and all of that. I'm completely with you ladies on it. So what we'll do is after the break, we pivot this conversation to the investment side, and the toss between taking a loan to fund an expense versus saving for it, investing for it, and then funding that expense. How do you get the right balance? We'll discuss this after the break.
Let's talk money.